40 years of plumbing in one video. Hi there, I'm Roger Wakefield, and I've been plumbing for about 45 years. So today, I'm gonna take just a minute and tell you everything that I've learned in 45 years. Well, okay, maybe not, but we're gonna talk about some of it. So I literally remember starting plumbing. I remember going down and applying for a job at Citywide Mechanical. See, I had messed up. I actually quit high school. How many of y'all are in that situation? Maybe you didn't quit high school. Maybe you're smarter than me. But remember, I did go back and graduate. But here's the thing. I was dumb enough to quit. I thought, look, I know everything. I can just go get a job. I can make money. Well, I did. I quit. I went and got a job at a plumbing company. Like I said, Citywide Mechanical. They're still around. And then what I did is I realized how much I enjoyed it. I loved being an apprentice. I loved learning. I loved the camaraderie. It was like a sports team. We were trying to build something together. Now, this is really back before OSHA, back before a lot of things. But the neat thing about it is it was almost like being on a team again. We had meetings in the morning. We talked about what we were going to do that day. We literally went up to the floors and we started working on our tasks, kind of like running a play, kind of like putting things together to make other things work. Now, this was really neat for me because I realized right then that this was something I loved. I love plumbing. And the cool thing about it is it was a sense of accomplishment each and every day. Now, there's a lot of jobs that people don't have that. They don't have the camaraderie. They don't have the pridefulness. Trades are probably one of the most prideful professions you'll ever get in. And I call the trades a profession because to me, you're a professional each and every day. But one of the most important things that I learned along the way as an apprentice is sometimes you've just got to be quiet and watch and learn. Now, the first plumber that I worked with didn't want me standing next to him when he was looking at the blueprints. He was kind of hard to work for, to be honest. But I stood on the other side of the blueprints, and every time he's taking his tape measure and scaling something out, I'm looking at it, trying to figure out what he's doing. And one of the most important things that I did is when they brought him new drawings one day, and they told him, make sure you roll those up and get rid of them. He rolled them up to put them in the trash, but I wrapped a piece of solder around them, tied it in a knot, and said, hey, I'm going to carry these home with me so I can start looking at this to try to learn it. And I literally took a job site set of blueprints home to study. I wanted to look at the legend. I wanted to learn what all the little symbols meant. I wanted to try to figure out why he went from the plumbing page to the architectural page, to the structural page, to the electrical page, to the sheet metal page. I wanted to learn what all he was trying to see. And actually, I got pretty good at it. I got to where eventually I could read the blueprints. I could check measurements. I could see the things that he was seeing. So learning little things like that from the beginning was really, really tough. I also learned sometimes as a plumber, you got to do things you don't want to do. I remember one time standing in a ditch with raw sewage in it. We were trying to replace a piece of pipe where the backhoe operator had hit it and broke it. And we were just trying to get it to quit flooding this hole. And we had already made the cuts, my plumber had, and the water was getting deeper. And believe it or not, my arms were longer than his. So I'm in the ditch and I've got my head held up out of it. But I'm sticking my hands down in this raw sewage, installing this piece of pipe and trying to slide the Fernco gaskets where they went. Now, I was able to get it in place. I didn't tighten everything up, but I got it enough that we could pump it out and do that. But I remember at that time thinking, it can never get any worse than this. But one of the things that I learned that day too is, look, sometimes you've got to do things you don't want to do, but it's okay because it's not going to be that way each and every day. There's going to be days that are better than others. But then again, you know what? You're going to have some bad days too. And I remember when I moved up to be a journeyman, one thing that I focused on was always trying to make sure the apprentices that I worked with learned how to do things the right way. Now, this was a big deal to me as a plumber because I was realizing, look, I love my craft. I love what I get to do. I love this profession that I've got in. Now, I got out of plumbing a few times and always thought, I want to try something else to see if there's anything else out there that maybe I enjoy this much. I became a cosmetologist, a massage therapist, a bouncer, a bodyguard, a bartender, a restaurant manager. I've done so many different things, but I always came back to plumbing because it's something that I understood really well. I learned it. Believe it or not, I was really pretty good at it. And I realized back then I was good at teaching apprentices. The apprentices that worked for me, as I was moving up, I got in the union. I became a foreman. I became a superintendent. And the apprentices that I really worked with, they did well too. They moved up. If you were an apprentice and you worked under me and you showed me that you wanted to learn, I wanted to make sure you got that opportunity. And I wanted to train you how to do the things that I knew how to do that maybe you hadn't learned yet. So doing things like that along the way, I think it made me a better plumber. When you're taking time to train someone, you take time to look at the details. What can you teach them? What things do they need to see? What things do they need to look at? And then I moved up to director of operations for a plumbing company. And it was really neat because I was in the office one day. I was in an executive meeting. And the new owner, the daughter who was going to take over the company, came in and told everybody that we were getting into residential service. It's something I loved. It's something I had done before. It's something I knew that one day I wanted to do. I wanted to open my own service plumbing company. But I listened to her talk that day and she said, we're going to tell people we specialize in the best trained plumbers and customer service. So me wanting to learn, asked her, said, so what are we going to do to train our plumbers to be the very best? And she looked at me and she says, Roger, we're going to make sure all our plumbers have a license. I was like, what the what? And then I said, okay, so what are we going to do to make them have the best customer service skills? And I asked this because, well, at the time I knew about customer service. I knew about etiquette and protocol and doing things right. Well, she didn't even just tell me. She just kind of rolled her eyes and says, look, our plumbers will know how to say, please, thank you, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And I hate to say it, but I knew right then from reading the Jim Collins book, Good to Great, I was on the wrong bus, in the wrong seat, going the wrong direction at the wrong time. And it wasn't much longer that we parted ways. Now, I ended up going out and opening my own plumbing company, and it grew to be very successful. But remember I told you earlier about it would never be as bad as this? When you open your own company, it can be really bad. I got ripped off by marketing companies. I tell people every day, imagine driving down the road, throwing $47,000 cash out the window and knowing that when you get to the office, your phones are not going to be ringing. That's about what it was like for me. But I decided to learn social media. And when you're running a company and your phones aren't ringing and you've got 7, 8 families depending on you to pay their bills, to feed their kids, to put their kids through school, to buy their kids new clothes, those are the kind of things that stick with you. But from being in the union, I understood that I was a good teacher. So the plumbers that I brought in, I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach them how to do things the right way. I wanted to teach them how to use new tools. I had started studying leak detection, slab leak detection. We had found out about Leak Pro. We wanted to acquire that company. So there were a lot of things that we were doing different, that we were doing better, that we were doing like a USP, our unique selling proposition. We were doing things that other companies weren't doing, and we were really doing it well. And then once we started doing social media and getting sponsorships and endorsements, we really started growing. Now, most people, when they get in the trades, they don't know what their exit plan is. And if you're thinking about opening a company one day, open it with the idea of knowing what your exit plan is going to be. Are you going to sell that company? Are you going to let your children inherit it? What are you going to do? Because you need to start building it for that reason and in that direction from the very beginning. So as a business owner, when I started it, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just going to run a good company. I wanted to open a company that was doing things the right way, and we started doing it. Then when social media came along and we started growing the way we were, I had to make a decision. I had to decide, do I want to spend all my time doing social media or running the plumbing company? Luckily, we had great reviews. We had a good customer list. So we were able to sell our plumbing company to an HVAC company that wanted to get into plumbing. We didn't even know that in the beginning, but we started looking at it to try to figure out what could we do and how could we do it. So if you get anything from this today, in 45 years of plumbing, what I've learned, always take care of your customers, always do the right thing, and have an exit plan. Know from the very beginning what you want to do and how you want to do it. Because if you build this company right, it can give you and your family the most amazing lifestyle you've ever imagined. The big plumbing companies, those plumbers normally live in the biggest houses in the neighborhood. And they did it by taking great care of people. So if this is something you're interested in, something you want to do, I'm just saying, it's an amazing career, and I hope it works out well for you.